She thought she was clever, sneaking around behind my back. What she didn't know was that I was 3 steps ahead, and when I finally struck, she lost everything. She told me she was working late. That's the exact line that started the unraveling of my marriage. And you know what's funny? I believed her. At first. Because why wouldn't I? We'd been married for almost 5 years. She'd never given me a reason to doubt her. When she kissed me goodbye in the mornings, when she smiled across the dinner table, when she leaned her head on my shoulder during movie nights, I thought it was real. But one night, everything shifted. It was a Wednesday. She was supposed to come home around 7, but at 8:30 she still wasn't back. I texted her, "Hey, everything okay?" She replied 5 minutes later, "Sorry, babe, swamped with work." Don't wait up. I stared at the message a little longer than usual. Something about it felt off. Not the words themselves, but the way she said them, like they were rehearsed, copy-pasted. Still, I brushed it off. People work late all the time, right? But then it started happening again and again, every week. Late nights at the office, client deadlines, team meetings, and slowly, a knot began to form in my chest. The first crack came from something so small it almost didn't matter. She left her phone on the counter one night while she showered. Normally, she didn't care if I picked it up to check the time or play some music, but that night, when a text flashed across the screen, my stomach twisted. The preview said, "Can't wait for Friday night." It wasn't from a name I recognized, just a number. I remember standing there, frozen, my hand inches from her phone. I didn't open it. I didn't want to be that husband, the paranoid one. So I told myself I imagined it. But deep down, I already knew. The confirmation came 2 weeks later. I was scrolling through social media on my lunch break when I saw it. A photo from one of her co-workers. It was at some hotel lounge. Glasses of wine, dim lighting, people laughing. And there she was. My wife. Not sitting with the group, not posing for the camera. She was in the background, with her boss. His hand was on her arm. They were leaning close, faces inches apart. She wasn't working late. She was working him. I felt like someone had kicked me in the chest. My heart pounded. My palms went cold. My vision blurred. I could have stormed into her office that very second. I could have screamed, demanded answers, thrown her things out. But instead, I sat there in silence, because a thought struck me. If she was bold enough to sneak around and smile in my face every night, then she thought I was a fool. And fools lash out. But smart men wait. That night, when she walked through the door with her tired-from-work face, I didn't say a word. I kissed her forehead, asked how her day was, and let her spin her little lies. She had no idea I'd already seen the photo, no idea that something inside me had snapped, and no idea that from that night forward, every smile I gave her was fake, because I wasn't her husband anymore. I was her shadow, and I was watching. From that night on, I played the perfect role: the loving husband, the supportive partner, the man who smiled when she came home late and nodded along when she said, "Work was brutal today." On the surface, nothing changed. But inside, every word she spoke felt like poison dripping into my ears. I stopped believing anything that came out of her mouth. Every kiss goodnight was fake. Every hug was a lie. And while she thought she was fooling me, I was quietly turning our marriage into an investigation. The first step was simple: patterns. I started noting down every time she came home late. The excuses she gave, the clothes she wore, the perfume she didn't normally use. I kept a small notebook hidden in my desk drawer. Dates, times, lies. And wouldn't you know it, her late nights always lined up with the same days of the week. Tuesdays, Fridays, sometimes Thursdays. She wasn't working late. She was scheduling him. The second step was technology. One evening, when she was showering, I mirrored her phone notifications onto my laptop. Nothing fancy, nothing illegal, just synced accounts she didn't realize were still connected. And there it was, the messages. Had a great time tonight. Can't stop thinking about you. When's the next late meeting? Reading them felt like swallowing glass. But I didn't react. I didn't confront her. Instead, I copied every single one. Screenshots, saved folders, backups on backups, because one day she was going to deny everything, and I was going to have proof. The third step was the hardest, acting normal. Every time she left the house, I wanted to scream. Every time I saw her phone light up with his name, I wanted to smash it against the wall, but I didn't. I smiled. I kissed her cheek. I asked about her meetings, and every time she lied with that same sweet voice. It was almost impressive how easily she could do it. Almost. One Friday night, she slipped into her little black dress. She said it was Casual Friday at the office. Casual Friday? In heels and lipstick? I watched her walk out the door, my jaw tight, my fists clenched. Then I followed. Not close enough for her to notice, just enough to see where she really went. And when she pulled into that hotel parking lot, when I saw him standing there waiting, straightening his tie like this was some kind of date, I nearly lost it. But I didn't storm in. I sat in my car, and I took photos. Click. Her smile when she saw him. Click. Their hands brushing as they walked inside. Click. The way he touched her back like he already owned her. Each picture cut me open. But each picture was another weapon for the day I finally struck. By the time she came home that night, hair slightly messy, lipstick smudged just enough to notice, I was sitting on the couch pretending to watch TV. She kissed me on the forehead, mumbled something about long day, so tired, and went straight to bed. I just sat there in the dark, my phone glowing in my hand, the photos staring back at me. And I realized something. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was underestimating me. She thought I was blind. She thought I was weak. And she had no idea that every lie, every secret, every stolen kiss was leading her straight into a trap she'd never see coming. Because I wasn't just collecting proof anymore. I was building a plan. And when I was ready, her entire world was going to collapse. Patience became my weapon. Every time she lied, every time she slipped into another overtime outfit, I tightened my grip on the act. I smiled, nodded, even wished her good luck. Inside, I was boiling. But outside, I was calm. Because I wasn't ready to strike yet. Not until the timing was perfect. The first crack I decided to make wasn't with her, it was with her family. See, her parents adored me. From the beginning, I was the son-in-law they always dreamed of. Polite, hard-working, steady, they bragged about me to their friends. They trusted me with everything. And she was their golden child, their perfect daughter, the one who could do no wrong. So I planted a seed. One Sunday dinner, when she insisted on going back to the office after dessert, I leaned over to her mom with a soft sigh. She's been working so hard lately. I just hope it's worth it. Late nights, long weekends. I hardly see her anymore. Her mother frowned. Really? She hasn't mentioned that to me. I smiled sadly. Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if I'm the only one left out of the loop. I didn't accuse her. I didn't even suggest anything, but the look her mom gave me, that was the look of suspicion. And suspicion spreads fast. The second crack I made was at her office. One evening, I drove her to work. She hadn't expected it, but I insisted, "It's late. Let me take you. I'll feel better knowing you're safe." She froze for half a second before plastering on that fake smile. When we pulled up, she gave me a quick kiss and hurried inside. But here's the thing, she didn't go to her office. She went straight through the lobby, past the elevators, and into the bar next door. And who was waiting for her? Her boss. The next morning, I dropped by her office under the pretense of surprising her with lunch. The receptionist looked confused when I asked if my wife was around. "She's not in today," she said. "She took the day off." Interesting. I smiled, thanked her, and left. That afternoon, I called her, asked how work was going. She sighed dramatically and said, "Exhausting. Can't wait to be home." I stared at my phone, barely containing my laugh. She didn't even realize she'd just handed me another piece of ammo. But I wasn't done. I started slipping questions into conversations. Little things. "So, how's that new project going? Your boss must really be leaning on you with all these late nights, huh? Funny. I heard from someone that your office closes earlier than that." She would stiffen just for a second, then recover with another lie. And every time she lied, I filed it away. Because I wasn't just collecting proof anymore. I was collecting leverage. One night she came home late, hair slightly damp like she'd showered somewhere else. I asked her casually, "Want me to throw your work clothes in the wash?" Her eyes widened, just for a split second, before she stammered, No, that's okay, I'll handle it." I smiled. "Of course, honey. You must be tired." She didn't know I'd already checked her clothes before she came home, and the faint cologne on her blouse, it wasn't mine. I knew the walls were starting to close in on her. Her family was asking quiet questions. Her lies were piling up, and soon even her boss wasn't going to be safe. Because the thing about patience is this: the longer you wait, the sweeter the strike. And when I finally moved, it wasn't just going to break her, it was going to destroy her entire world. By now I had enough proof to level a building. Messages, photos, lies stacked on lies, her boss's face right there next to hers in half a dozen hotel lobbies and bars. But I wasn't ready to hit her head on yet, not when there were smarter plays to make. So I shifted focus from her lies to her career. See, my wife's job wasn't just any job. She'd worked her way up in her company, proud of her position, always talking about her future leadership opportunities. And her boss? He was her biggest ally, the one writing her recommendations, the one grooming her for promotions, which meant if I pulled the right thread, the entire thing would unravel. One morning I made a call, not to her, not to him, to HR. I disguised my voice just enough, pretended to be an anonymous source, and mentioned I'd seen concerning behavior between a certain manager and his direct report. I suggested maybe someone should look into the after-hours meetings, the late-night outings, the blurred lines. The woman on the other end was polite, professional, but I heard it in her voice. Concern, suspicion, the kind of suspicion that spreads like wildfire in corporate halls. That same week, I watched my wife pace around the living room on the phone, her tone sharp, defensive. "No, it's not like that," she snapped. "We were just networking. No, I don't know who would say that." "Of course, I'm professional. Why would you even—" She froze when she noticed me watching. I sipped my coffee slowly, pretending not to hear a word. She turned her back, lowering her voice, but the panic was already written all over her face. Bingo. But I wasn't satisfied yet, so I went one step further. That Friday night, when she slipped into her heels and headed to the office, I followed again. This time I didn't just take photos. I recorded video, her walking hand in hand with her boss into the same hotel they'd used before, him leaning down to kiss her neck as they disappeared inside. Crystal clear, unmistakable. I saved the file 3 times, uploaded it to a private drive, and sent a copy to myself at work. Because the day she tried to spin this story, I was going to have evidence she couldn't wiggle out of. The following Monday, she stormed into the house after work, slamming her bag onto the counter. "Do you know anything about people asking questions at my office?" she demanded. I raised an eyebrow. "Questions? Don't play dumb." HR pulled me aside today. "Someone's spreading rumors about me and my boss." I shrugged. "Rumors? That's odd. You have been working a lot of late nights, haven't you?" Her eyes narrowed, studying my face, searching for guilt. but all she found was calm. Because I wasn't guilty. I was untouchable. That night, she was restless. Kept checking her phone, kept sighing, kept pacing. And for the first time, I saw it. Fear. Not guilt, not shame. Fear. Because her perfect little secret romance wasn't so secret anymore, and she had no idea how deep the knife had already gone. What she didn't know was that I wasn't finished. Her family already had doubts. Her company was beginning to question her professionalism. And soon, her entire support system was going to crumble, because the best revenge isn't about catching someone red-handed. It's about letting them feel the walls close in, inch by inch, until the only thing left is panic, and she was already gasping for air. By the time HR had their eye on her, I knew it was time to tighten the noose. But not at work. At home. Because her job was important, yes. But her family, that was her pride. Her safety net, her comfort zone. And when you take that away from someone, you don't just bruise them, you break them. The next Sunday, we had dinner with her parents again. She was quieter than usual, picking at her food, glancing at me every now and then like she could sense something was off. Halfway through the meal, her mom leaned across the table. "Sweetheart, you've been so busy lately. Are you sure everything's all right at work? Your husband mentioned how much you've been gone." Her fork froze mid-air. She shot me a sharp look. I gave her a small, innocent smile. "Yeah, you know, late nights, long hours. I just told your mom I worry sometimes, that's all." Her mom frowned. Her dad shook his head. "It's not healthy, working like that. Marriage needs balance." I could almost see her skin crawling as the questions piled up. And I sat there sipping my drink, pretending I wasn't the one fanning the flames. But dinner wasn't the real strike. That came later, because I sent her sister a text. A simple one. Just a photo. Her and her boss walking into that hotel. No caption, no explanation. Just the truth. The next morning, her sister called me in a panic. "What is this? Are you serious? She's cheating on you?" I let my voice crack, just a little. Enough to sound pained, broken. I didn't want to believe it. I kept hoping it wasn't true, but yeah, that's her. That's my wife. Her sister swore under her breath, furious. "I can't believe she'd do this to you. To us. I'm telling Mom." And just like that, the wildfire spread. By the end of the week, her family was blowing up her phone, her mother crying, her father demanding answers, her sister calling her a liar. I stayed silent. Calm. Every night, she came home more frazzled, more paranoid, until one night she snapped. "Did you tell them?" she screamed, slamming her purse onto the counter. I looked at her, wide-eyed, innocent. "Tell who what?" "Don't play games with me," she shrieked. "My mom, my sister, they know something. Someone told them." I shrugged. Maybe they just noticed what I noticed. Her face went pale. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, no words coming out. And I walked past her, heading for the bedroom, leaving her standing in the kitchen with her own guilt suffocating her. But I wasn't done. Because family pressure was one thing. Friends, that was another. So the next step was social. I uploaded one of my recordings, the cleanest one, the one where she and her boss kissed in the hotel lobby, to a private account. Then I shared it anonymously to one of her friend group chats. I didn't say who I was, didn't add commentary, just the video. Within hours, it spread like wildfire. Her friends texted me privately, horrified, apologizing for her behavior, assuring me I deserved better. And her? Her phone lit up like a Christmas tree with calls and messages she couldn't answer. Because what could she say? What lie could possibly cover the truth, when the truth was right there on video? The next morning, she sat at the table, eyes bloodshot, hands trembling around her coffee mug. "You ruined me," she whispered, voice hoarse. I tilted my head. "Ruined you?" "No, Claire. You ruined yourself. I just showed people what you were hiding." Her lip quivered, but no words came out. She just sat there, silent, broken. And for the first time, I saw it. Not guilt, not fear, defeat. But the revenge wasn't finished. Because while her family now knew, while her friends now knew, and while she sat in the wreckage of her lies, her career was still standing, barely. And that was the last pillar left to knock down. And when I did, she wouldn't just be broken, she'd be destroyed. By the time her family turned their backs on her and her friends stopped answering her calls, my wife was already halfway to collapse. But halfway wasn't enough. Not for me. Not after the nights I spent staring at the ceiling, wondering what I did wrong. Not after the lies, the texts, the lipstick stains that weren't mine. She wanted to gamble our marriage on a secret affair? Fine. I was going to make sure she lost everything. The next step was simple. I walked into her office building one morning, calm as ever, and asked to speak with HR. The receptionist smiled politely, led me down a hallway, and within minutes I was sitting across from a woman with sharp glasses and a sharper expression. "What can I help you with today?" she asked. I slid my phone across the desk. "I think this belongs in your hands." She tapped the screen. The video began to play. My wife, her boss, the hotel lobby, the kiss. Silence stretched across the room as the evidence spoke for itself. When the video ended, the HR manager's lips were a thin, tight line. "Thank you," she said coldly. "We'll handle this internally." And just like that, I knew her career was over. The fallout was immediate. 2 days later, she stormed through the front door, eyes blazing, voice shaking with rage. "You went to my office?" she screamed. I looked up from my laptop, expression calm. "I didn't go to your office. I went to HR." Her face twisted. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I could lose my job." I raised an eyebrow. "Lose your job?" "Claire, you should have thought about that before you started sleeping with your boss." She went silent. And for the first time, she had no lie left to give. By the end of the week, she was suspended pending investigation. Her boss was quietly placed on leave as well. Whispers flew around the company like vultures circling a carcass. And at home, she was a ghost. No more fake smiles, no more excuses. Just a shell of the woman she used to be, staring at the walls, waiting for the axe to fall. That's when I made my final move. One evening, I sat her down at the kitchen table, laid out a stack of papers in front of her. "What's this?" she asked, her voice brittle. "Divorce," I said simply. "Already filed. You just need to sign." Her hands shook as she flipped through the documents. "You can't be serious. After everything we've built?" I leaned forward, my voice sharp enough to cut. "Everything we built?" "Claire, you destroyed it. You torched our marriage, our trust, everything we had. And now you want to talk about we?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Please, I can fix this. We can go to counseling, we can—" I shook my head. "No. You can't fix something you shattered with your own hands. This is done. You're done." She buried her face in her hands, sobbing quietly. And I just sat there watching, feeling nothing but cold satisfaction. 2 weeks later, it was official. She was unemployed, reputation in ashes, family disappointed, friends gone. And me? I walked away free, clean, untouched. I didn't scream, I didn't fight, I didn't make a scene. I just let her lies collapse under their own weight. And when the dust settled, I was the only one still standing. People sometimes ask me if it was worth it, if the months of pretending, the patience, the silent waiting, it was all worth the payoff. And the truth is, yes. Because the best revenge isn't loud. It's not messy. The best revenge is quiet, calculated, icy cold. The kind of revenge that leaves the other person wondering every night how they lost everything and how you never even raised your voice. So if you ask me what happened to my wife, she thought she was clever. She thought I'd never find out. She thought she could walk all over me and laugh behind my back. But now she's just another cautionary tale. And me? I'm the man who proved that sometimes silence is the deadliest weapon of all.